Hello and welcome to a Saturday spirituality group with our guest speaker, Tiffany McGuire, who is a peer support worker and she has a spiritual tale to tell, some of it quite harrowing as has had a brush with death. So take it from here, Tiffany. It's all you.
Hi, everyone. I want to go ahead and thank City Voices and the founders and members, and everyone that's here. Um, and then I want to go into acknowledging within humanity the seeker, the sufferer, the sage, and the saint within all of us. I like the way Dan wrote it when he said that my spiritual journey culminated when I had a brush with death. Um, And though I was not physically hospitalized, and though I didn't see a bright light at the end of a tunnel, there were definitely parts of me that died off. And there were also parts of me that were in a body cast. So if you guys know, sometimes bones have to be broken in order to be put back together properly. So though my life didn't flash in front of me in the TV sense, it did happen in an elongated way over a period of months. Through smells and nightmares and encounters that I had with others. I had to look at everyone that I'd ever been and why I'd been those people. After this accident, it was as if all of me was just laid out. And again, though it was not in a physical sense, it was definitely in an emotional and spiritual way. Um, so the night of the accident, I was raging at a loved one. And the raging that I was doing, it was so much different than before. I've had a problem with rage probably since childhood, you know? And so, but that specific night, the way I was raging, where my mind was, I was thinking about my mother, I was thinking about God, and I was doing this while in this berserker style rage. Um, and though my rage was understandable, that night I learned that it was not excusable. So I'm out driving, raging in the car, and then at some point, I finally stopped, as rageaholics do. There's something that happens in the brain where you just kind of stop, and it's almost as if nothing happened. I went grocery shopping, everything was fine. And even after the grocery shop, I was still driving around in the car. There was a part of me that wanted to go home, but there was also a part of me that I could not make myself go home. It was just, let's go drive past this one place one more time. Let's go do this. Let's go whatever. And then there was this point where it was like, okay, I have to go home. I have to get up for work in the morning. And when I went to get on the freeway to go home, this is an area that I always get on the freeway. But somehow, instead of going south, I went north and had to drive several minutes ahead to find an exit to go back in my direction. Something I think was very tired of not just me, but the gentleman who hit me that night. So I finally get on the freeway and I'm going back to my house. And I was thinking about 5 minutes before the collision, I wonder how much I can get for my car. It's almost as if something was in my mind telling me, you're about to find out how much you're going to get for this car. And so I'm driving again as if I hadn't just raged and terrified everybody around me. I'm just driving, and suddenly there's a crash into the back of my car, and I'm screaming and I can't stop and I don't know what's going on. And then finally we stop, and it's like everything was clockwork, though. It's as if this moment was ordained, if you will. Um, right as he hits me, my car stops. Then The police officers arrive. It's like everything was in line that night. And so we're standing there, and I'm looking at the gentleman who hits me, and we're all fine and we're all walking, but he seems so terrified and so apologetic. And of course, as the sheriff gets there and the highway patrol gets there, it comes to find out that the guy is drunk. And later I find out not just drunk, but this is his second DUI. So that's what I mean when I said that night something was tired of both of us and the way we were affecting the world around us. So I go home, life goes into what I think is normal because I can still walk. However, over the next couple of days, the pain sets in more and more. And there's not just pain at that point, there's an inability to really move. And so I'm laid in the bed, needing people to do my laundry, needing people to bring me food, needing all of this help. And then that's where the emotional and psychological pieces started coming in. Um, there was a period of time for over a week where I was having olfactory hallucinations, where I was smelling places that I had been as a child, places that held so much trauma and confusion for me. And I wasn't able to run anymore. My car was a place that I would get in. It could be 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd get in my car, drive 60 miles away, just with the music blaring, just ignoring everything. And I didn't have my car anymore. I couldn't move anymore. I can't blast my music because I live in an apartment. So it was just me, the physical pain, and the smells going on around me. I stayed trapped in my house for weeks with these smells. And I was still very much a surface skimmer. I like to run past an issue and look at the bookshelf, but not read the books. So I thought that I had figured it all out. I talked to my therapist. I'd gotten into therapy because I figured this is the best thing to do when you're having these sorts of issues. And I finally acknowledged with the therapist, that these things had happened to me, and it explained so much about my life. It explained so many mistakes I made. It explained the rage that I had, everything like that. But I still hadn't touched every part of it. I like to skim the surface. Okay, I know that's there and go on with life because we have to go on with life. But sometimes some things you have to allow yourself to hover over, is what I found out. So through this, I would say it took me about a year and a half to actually allow myself to not only look at the trauma that I had experienced in the moment, that from that smell that trapped me in this house, that I was trapped in the house with. There's the trauma, there's the what happened, there's all of those things, but then I had to look at the grief of those moments and how in those moments when we do something to someone, sometimes it's reparable, sometimes it's things you can gloss over, but sometimes we take ourselves from people. And what I had to realize in that moment that had me so trapped is that this person took themselves from me when they behaved in the way which they did. And there was a break that happened in that moment. The beginning of the break happened when I'd had one of these encounters that I spoke of, where I met a woman who, without knowing it, reminded me so much of the caregiver that caused harm. And she and I had a friendship and we hung out together. And she took me to go get a massage that day, one day. And it wasn't a cute massage. You know, we hear of massages and we think of lavender oil and cucumber water. This wasn't it. This was a place where you go and these ladies follow meridian points and pathways on your body and iron you out. And it does not feel good. Okay. So, but what happened is the day after that massage, I started having a very strange wiggling in the back of my head, and it was driving me absolutely bonkers. It went on for about 4 days, and with an intensity that almost literally sent me into a I almost felt like I needed to go to the mental hospital. But I also was able to understand how a person could really think that there's snakes inside of their head. And if I hadn't had all of the years of therapy that I had prior to this incident, I would have really broken down that during that period. Finally, I remember it was a Monday morning. I was literally about to cry because this had been going on since Thursday, this wiggling in my head. So it was Monday morning, and I remember just feeling depleted and like I was losing my mind. And I started crying. And then I had to look at again how this person took themselves from me with their actions. And when I touched that moment, the tears that came from that experience, they were sedimentary. It was like when you drop juice at the bottom of the refrigerator and it all of the water evaporates and it's sticky, because this has been pain that I was carrying since I was 10 years old. I'm 43 now. So this pain had been in me for that long, and I cried these tears for about 20 minutes. And once I finished crying, the wiggling in my head stopped. It never came back. I haven't felt it since. So when I look at this specific accident and understand that sometimes we can be carrying something with us for so long, and not just the incident, but everything that we did based upon the trauma that we experienced. We carry all of these things with us, and it affects our personality, it affects our relationships. And I had to spend almost 2 years sitting with myself and moving through the different elements of, again, who I had become, why I had become that person, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, which led me on the path to doing a lot of different trainings on trauma and spirituality. I'd done these things before, but I was, life makes it to where you skim. Sometimes you have this incident gave me time where I was able to kind of sit with things and allow them to really saturate into who I am. Um, I was allowed to look at the different nodes of life and the different pathways that we follow, and how we build up these, I call them emotional teratomas. I don't know if you a teratoma is a tumor that grows inside of us that not all of us get them. They're kind of rare, but on an emotional level, I think we all have them. And so teratomas are like built with, hair follicles and teeth and all of this stuff. And they're like these little balls of everything that we are in a really kind of grotesque way. And so I had to look at how these different incidents throughout my life had grown these little balls of basically pain and confusion. And I had to spend almost 2 years really, really being with myself and dealing with the nightmares and dealing with the emotional pain that I had never allowed myself to feel on the surface. And that's part of what brought me into doing peer work was though I have my own areas of chronic humanity, if you will, like um I was able through this accident to really understand a person having a psychotic break and thinking that there's snakes coming from their head or thinking that they're smelling something that nobody else is smelling and understanding how very real that place is. Um, Also going through the physical pain that was actually emotional pain. There was a period through this accident where I sat for probably 4 months just feeling absolutely I was this is what depression has to feel like. This is all that's in my mind. This is what absolute horror must feel like. Um and understanding how someone could end up self-medicating with drugs and alcohol during those times. It was an intense reality for me. Um, and it's not as if I had never understood from a cognitive level. There's a very bullet point way life happens. Like someone experiences this, then they do this, and then they do that, and it was almost computerized my understanding, which made almost my ideas for fixing things very computerized. And sometimes that coding just don't mix. It just doesn't come together. Um, so finally, I had what I call the boss fight, where I acknowledged, those areas of pain and really sat with it and understood, coming from my experience in life, I grew up around people who were narcotics abusers. And I was able to touch those parts of me in a different way, those parts of me that grew up seeing that and kind of understand their pain in a different way. Um, and some of the things that I learned through this experience is that first off, I had to release my crippling perfectionism. That's something that I hold it dear, and it sits on my desk, and I've tried to take the crippling part off, and but I also acknowledged, I saw and I learned how the perfectionism was causing me to have a lot of rage and anger. So I'm working with that. Um, And another thing that I've done inside of myself, us humans, we like to build places. We like to build monuments. So through my yoga and meditation training throughout this, period of time, I've allowed myself to build monuments for different inside of me, places that I visit inside of myself where there's a merging of those two parts, of those three parts, of however many parts are inside of this specific situation that I've experienced. That's major. I don't build it for everything, but there are major pieces and major parts that are stripes on my uniform, if you will. And we all have them. But to allow myself to have those monuments so that the memory isn't spilled out into everything that I do. Um, but where I acknowledge the sacred nature of even the most painful experiences that I've had, whether I was the victim or the perpetrator inside of them, but just to allow myself space in those areas. Um, to gain more understanding, to just acknowledge. I think that that's something that's very human for us. We need those things. And I found that building them outside of myself, like this altar to something, it's something that can be destroyed. Whereas if it's inside of me, I'm able to have that. Um, let's see what else I've learned. Yeah, learning how the pieces of a lifetime come together along the way. You know, when Dan used the word culminated, that really helped me to see how sometimes certain trauma isn't ready to be addressed. My brain definitely, as I look at what came to the surface for me after this accident, and when you pop a balloon and the air comes out, so that specific the air that was coming out was everything that had happened from this balloon. And when I look at how even addressing those moments at a more enlightened or more evolved space, I saw even the rage that I was holding for those moments at this area of my life. And I see how my brain had put certain things on hold because to even acknowledge them back here, I would have completely not been able to function properly. So I had to see how moving forward, everything comes together. So it's helped me to slow down a bit and not always be running from this imaginary tiger in my mind. Um, so being able to slow down, being able to understand the fascinating way life comes together and know that and hope that and scientifically be able to say that, okay, everything from back there, kind of like the dominoes, if you will, or the stacking of the blocks, if you will, how everything came together in such a fascinatingly perfect way that if I just move forward, that I'm willing to accept that maybe it will too, so I can kind of slow down and not be so fretful of life, and not be so perfectionistic and not need to control the exact way that things come together. Um, so that's something that I've been learning as I've been in this wing, this layer of my spiritual development. I went through kind of my first wave in adulthood was very much very hippie yoga, meditative, and that area when you're severely traumatized can allow for a little bit of um for narcissism, for lack of a better term. um and I can see where that mindset wasn't sustainable. It wasn't all of that. It was something that I needed to take it through another layer. And so I went through that layer, I went through that healing, and now I'm back on my hippie yoga phase in a more directed fashion. So that's where I've landed at this point is I'm allowing myself to experience, to accept and experience, because again, there were the things that happened to me that made me not accept life, and the people that I became from the things that happened to me that made me not accept life. So I had to kind of crash those two pieces together to be like, okay, if we want these kind of things to stop, we have to accept the good in life. So yoga and meditation is where I've landed now. And that's, I have a funny picture to show you all before
Please
we
do.
go.
Please do.
Okay. Because I didn't notice this until after the accident. But we were looking at pictures of the back of the car, and can I share my screen, Dan?
Yes,
Is
you
it there?
can. Yes.
I have to
No, you
find the
got you
button.
got yeah, click that green share screen button.
Share, that's the green share screen button right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and I hope you all see it as cool as I thought I closed down everything that was my business, but that's fine. So, here's my car, right? Let me see if I can get a pen to draw on it. Hold on. Okay, there we are. So I tend to find things in a way, but if you see, can you see my cursor moving here?
Yes.
If you see the way this light bends
Oh yeah.
into this area, and then if you look right here, it's like two little eyes right there on the site where the guy hit me.
Can you maximize this picture?
I'll try. Hold on. There we are. Oh gosh. All right, let's see. And then I'll move here and then we'll go here. You see those two little eyes right there?
Yeah.
So I feel like that was very much the convergence or the representative. As I say, that night when I was raging with God. My mind was in such a space that if making magic is real, you merge all of that together and you release. And when I see this and the way that light flows down, It was like, yeah, we got something for you since this is how you want to act in life and this is why you're acting like this. So let's take you down that road. And now here I am, but I think that I'm ready to speak with people. I don't have it. I'll just start rambling now.
No, all right. Well, that was a pretty powerful and awesome story, Tiffany. All right. So now, hello, Cecilia. Hello, Stan. You guys are co-facilitating now. You're up to conduct the orchestra. So I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to leave it to you, Cecilia, and to you, Stan, to get everyone involved in a conversation here.
Thank you, Tiffany. It sounds profound, what you've experienced, how it led you into understanding a more deeper understanding of how this impacts you. Absolutely. Um, I'm so glad you shared, and I just wanted to say thank you. Uh, Thank you very much. And um, if you would allow, I'm going to ask if people would like to ask some questions about it. Barry or Barry, would you like to ask
Chaplain James
any questions?
got his hand up, Cecilia.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Actually, Chaplain James has a question for you. Please go ahead, Chaplain.
Tiffany, I love that story. It's so invigorating. What you were talking about when things go and you put things in different compartments, that's departmentalizing. Tiffany?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
I'm
that's the
agreeing.
part. Yeah, that's the. You're a who?
Oh no, I was agreeing. I was nodding my head. I didn't.
Oh, okay. All
Yes.
right. Yeah, that's what they call it, departmentalizing. Um, your story, I love your story because you know how people really start learning about themselves. They only learn about themselves when something happens where they can't just move around and go into life as they were going. You see what I'm saying? When
Yes.
you get time to get into you and then you figure out you. People don't do that very much because we go on autopilot, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And we get used to doing things. And coming from, say, caregivers that were on narcotics, you were things were very chaotic for you. I
Mm-hmm.
could see and I could understand it. I put my information in the chat. I would like to talk to you more about this if you're willing.
I see
But that
it
was a
there.
great story. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I knew you were gonna be good.
Thank
And
you.
it was great. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Chaplain James.
How about Karen? Hi, Karen.
Hi, Stan. Hi, everybody. Hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much for just sharing your story. I love the way that you shared. I felt like it was like a poet. You're just so amazing with the way that you relay your story and your life and just being so vulnerable. I wanted to ask you, because right now I'm in anger management classes myself, just to deal with, just my past of being abused and things are coming up as I've gotten older. How has this helped you in your journey with your rage and your anger, if you don't mind me asking? Maybe you shared it and it went over my head, but I know you said yoga and meditation. But how has it helped you now with that?
Not perfect. I've definitely and I think that what I recently, just to kind of, I've recently began, I just took and am revisiting and actually invested in this one course by Dr. Pavel Samov. He's an anger management specialist. And so going into his course has made me more respectful of the primitive nature of who I am, because so much that I had understood about anger management previously, and shameless plug for myself, that I was already thinking the things that he said, but he confirmed it for me. um what has helped me is a love and an appreciation for not being in prison. um and also realizing that that like nobody is worth it. Nobody is worth me giving up anything. And it doesn't mean that I don't still have, I just acted angry yesterday. I just did it yesterday pretty bad. But what I've been able to do is again let go of the perfectionism, get back on track immediately, um, and realize what my goal is, whether it be with my loved ones or professionally or whatever. Like that, anything that requires socialization with the outside world, um, is just allowing myself to get back on track at every moment, and then again, yeah, the meditative part, being able to be with myself in a very past and present way, and allowing in those moments the love and the compassion for even when I messed up, even when I caused someone harm, and then acknowledging that feeling guilty and feeling ashamed for those things is a good thing. But now being able to tone it down like a soup, you put too much pepper in the soup, it's not going to be good, but you have to put a little dash of pepper in that soup, you know? So allowing myself healthy shame, healthy embarrassment, just enough to where I'm thinking about what I do next, and allowing things to be a moment by moment. Um, and having those, and then really only allowing myself to be around people that I could have those conversations with, only allowing myself to like accepting that, like, what I have to deal with, because regardless of anything, there are going to be difficult people that I have to deal with, and finding creative ways to be in those places, finding those areas where, I'm from the inner city, like I'm from the high rise projects, and you don't punk out, like you fight, and then it's like, no, that's not who I'm not fighting that. I'm not fighting with anybody about anything, unless, like, don't put nobody's hands around me. I'm not in immediate danger. So allowing that part of my brain to realize, like, I'm not in immediate danger. Look around, see where you are, and then coming up, doing my best to come up with creative and funny ways to address moments, in parenting, moments in external interactions with people at the grocery store, and not caring. So it's that kind of stuff. It's a moment by moment thing that allowing meditation to help me slow my brain down, like just saying I'm not doing that. I'm not going there. And it's a process. It has become a process. I got sentenced to anger management in 2008. And the sad part about that anger management was I got a lot of it. I got a lot of it. But what I cooked up for myself to carry with me, very much so, was anger management is about don't piss people off, right? And I was able to carry that, and it was my excuse for my rage, because it's like, no, but you and sometimes people do bother me, so if I can't get away from them, I work to remember what my goal is and find creative ways and sometimes you just let them win. Like you won. And so there was a lot of trauma work around that, and we have to acknowledge the trauma work around anger management. So that's I hope that made sense. I kind of went everywhere.
No, that resonated completely with me. I truly appreciate your answer. I can, wow, I can personally relate. I really appreciate that, Tiffany. Thank you.
Tiffany,
Yes, sir.
that resonates with me because I understand where you're coming from. One thing I see that maybe you should work on a little bit more is that thing for perfection you have, because that like drives you down the wrong road. Try to think of it as practice. You keep practicing and you'll get it right. And always know which way you don't want to go or what you don't want to do,
Yes.
if you can understand that.
Yes, sir.
Yes. No, I'm not a sir. I'm just thank you. No, but that is great. But
Mhm.
you are striving and you're coming along very well. Just keep up the work. Keep up the work. It never ends. It's
Mm.
always going on. It's always
Yes.
going on.
Yes, yes. I thank you for confirming that, because it was just between yesterday and the day before I was just like slammed with life. And I told myself, I was like, dude, you're making yourself miserable hoping that it'll stop. Like you're just grinding in life so hard trying to make it stop. And it's just not. Like there's
Yeah,
always going to be something like customer service or this or that. It doesn't stop. So thank you for
yeah,
confirming that.
yeah. It goes on. It goes on, and you have to keep up with it, let's say. You
Yes,
know what
Lord.
I'm saying? You take your lessons and you apply it to the new situations, or new circumstances, or new whatever, but you keep on keeping on. It
Hmm.
nothing stop it but death. How about that?
Hopefully.
Yeah. And but you're in a great place. I love where you have come to today.
Thank you.
Tomorrow you go further, but today you're in a beautiful place because you're not where you were and you're not where you can be. So you
Yeah.
keep going.
Thank
Keep
you.
going. You're welcome.
Hmm.
Wherever you go, there you are. I see Dan with his hand up.
All right. Let me just put my hand down somehow. Tiffany, you said something like, when I think you were referring to the man who crashed into you, that he took a part of himself from you. You said something. Did you remember saying something like that? Like
Yes.
he took himself out of you.
Mm,
What
mm.
does that what does that mean? What does that, and you described it with other people too. What does that mean?
Yeah, yeah. What I want to touch on that. I like the way you reminded me, because when I said that, I was actually talking about the caregiver who had been abusive. how in that moment they took an elder from me. They took somebody that could be around as my life progressed, who could have been at my college graduation, and all of the good from themselves, because there's things that'll happen where we have to take the good with the bad. Yeah. And then we have to look at the good and the hell no. Like, I don't care how good you were, hell no, we can't talk anymore. You know what I mean? But then when you bring it over here and you talk about the guy who crashed into me, yeah, he did take a part of himself from all of us, I would say, because there's a silent social contract when you get behind the wheel of the car, you know? So in that, he did affect our trust in humanity. He did affect our trust in our fellow motorists. So that's what I mean, is that, and even looking at myself, I have to look at when I have committed, because I have people that don't talk to me anymore. Like, because I was an absolute sociopath. I call it the great breakdown of 95 and 96. Anybody who knows me from 95 and 96, I was a straight sociopath. I didn't kill anybody, but I was not a good person. And those are people that I took a piece of myself from. They can't they can't invite me to their wedding, you know? They can't say, "Oh gosh, the baby was just born. Let's send Tiffany a picture." Like, I took that from them in my behaviors, you know? Um, and that is a grief that that is mine, as well, in my way. So when I spoke to building monuments, those are places that I visit inside of myself, not in a warlike, but those are places where I weep. Those are places where I am. And those are places where I remind myself. I hope that answers you.
Yes, and another thing I was wondering about, Tiffany, is like your story. It's all it felt just so like isolating, like you were experiencing all this in a vacuum. So I was wondering, like, where are your people? Is your family? Where are your friends doing all of this? Right, Barry?
Oh. Well, I have people that care for me. Um, I have people that won't let my belly button touch my spine, that are around. Um, but this specific situation was a place of solitude, I think. When I talk about the great breakdown of 95 and 96, I'm reminded of sometimes people just need to be put in a little spot by themselves, with the proper tools. Um, so building people, there's an element of building people. There's an element of building community. I have been, I wouldn't say alone, but just small group, you know? So, but this was a period of isolation for me. And it it affected my brain in a way that made me have to restructure, because the way I was behaving in certain periods of time is a time where, so if you're gonna, I mean, I'm pretty sure that if I was the way I was in ancient times, they would either put me on a battlefield or throw me in the volcano because I just was as I was, you know? So luckily we've made it to more civilized times, and I was just kind of put alone with my feelings and emotions and smells and pain, and made to put that puzzle together, you know. So I hope that does that answer? Thank you.
You
Oh,
were good.
real quick, Chaplain James asked if I will try to make amendment with these people. There's some people that um it's possible. There's some people that I've talked with over life, over time. Um so there's a balance of that. There's people who are like, no way, dude, because that was unforgivable, and they're allowed that. There are definitely people that are like, for me, it's like, dude, don't use what I did as your opportunity to like ignore yourself. Like, don't be self-righteous through my mistakes, right? And I don't really want to like deal with that anyway. Um, and then there's some situations there where it's just like, it doesn't really, it's not a cast off of those people, but I had to look at like, and this is with all honesty and all respect, and in no way an attempt to deflect my behavior or my character flaws. But then when I look at the people, it's like, do I really even want to be around those people? Like, we went through life, these things happened, but what I do is I just hold that space, and I realize that in my life there's been times when I've walked down the street and found a book that helped me get better. There's been times when, so whatever is needed for them to get better, maybe my need to apologize or make amends could actually like stop that. So there's ones that I know that would be a problem, like it's like, just let those people live their lives. And then there's people where it's like, oh, dude, I was nuts. And there's still that point in time where where they deserve an explanation. But there's also been times when I went to make those amends and the people were like, honestly, you could have just stayed away. So I'm not, in terms of step work and things like that, like, it's important, but I find that the making of amends is also just as good on in an internal way,
Yeah.
and a how I move forward way.
Tiffany, I love your growth, and that is your choice. You get to decide those factors and what matter and what doesn't. That's okay. I would love to talk to you more. You're just getting beautiful and beautiful the more you talk.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think along with amends, Tiffany, that there's the element of forgiveness, and we, whether we make amends or not, and I agree that it's not always the right thing, that amends are desirable, but for a whole bunch of different reasons, they may not be possible, but we have to, and we don't have to do it directly, but we need to forgive the people who have hurt us and harmed us, just in order to be able to move forward. And it seems to me that you've kind of been able to do that also as you move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in 95, 96, it seems to me you're just a child still.
Kids can do a lot of harm.
Yeah. You know, something else that struck me in hearing your story is you found meaning in all these experiences. You've used these experiences to learn about who you are and also to learn about where you are in the world, where you fit. And so it's been growth, and I don't know, it's the part where you found your personal meaning in the things that have happened.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
mentioned the men's, I thought about it. I remember I was like 5 months in recovery, and I made amends to the godmother. She doesn't curse or nothing like that, God, but she actually yelled at me. She said, "You got some nerve making amends about." And she put it to me because most drug addict and alcohol, they want to make amends. She says, "It's unacceptable sometimes." Because I used to celebrate after my third year. I stopped celebrating because I felt that it wasn't good for me because people come to recovery, some things were really bad. And they get 1 year, 2 years to say, "I'm a great person. I stopped using drugs and alcohol." Excuse me, look what you did to your family. Look what you did to your kids. It's like, I don't accept it, what you did. I just don't.
Mhm.
And I just don't agree with certain things when it came to the program. Because I took 2 angel management courses, and I was mandated by the judge to take these courses. I was such a nut job. And it's like a part of my history. I was a gangster. And my lifestyle is like you don't make it, man. You do what you got to do to survive sometime. And the irony was I ended up with 2 daughters, 3 daughters. I had to raise 2 daughters of my own because it's a womanizer. And when you mention how you learned about yourself, it's like, I learned a lot about myself raising my daughters on my own. I really did. Who and what I am, what I stood for. And it was hard though. People say you're such a wonderful person. It wasn't a wonderful journey. It really wasn't not raising 2 daughters. I just come off of drugs and alcohol. I had 5 hours actually, to be honest with you. Ended with 2 daughters. What the hell is I gonna do with 2 daughters? I didn't know that I couldn't cook. I knew nothing. I didn't know about going to college. I knew nothing. And nobody helped me. So it's kind of like we mentioned thing about rage and stuff like anger management. And that's like I ended up in anger man. It's like because they had this thing. I read this book called Black Rage. And my Black Rage, believe it wasn't against white people. It was against Black people about what they put me through, my own people. I didn't stretch back to with the slavery part. But I get over yourself. Because nobody's there to help me. And I developed this rage within inside of myself. And sometimes it does come up sometimes. It's like, and I worked on my anger, but I realized I got angry last week with the kid's mother because she doesn't listen. She always want money. It's like, excuse me, sweetheart, you gotta do something about your situation so I can stop giving you money. Change your ways and stuff like that. It just like angered me. It's like, and I help a lot of people. I'm always giving out money, but come to the point that I just can't do it no more. I got to where I am because of my struggles and what I went through. I made something out of myself. And my whole key is to give, I just say, you can't keep it unless you give it away. And I'm out there telling people, you know what? You got to grow up sometime. You really do. You got to stand on your own 2 feet. And it's like, I have to feel, I'm not going to be your sponsor. I'm not going to be your caregiver. But when you talk to stuff like when you're doing a Q&A, you became more interested, to be honest with you. This lady's really deep and stuff like she has a lot going on with herself about people taking something away from you. And I felt that when people took away from me a lot of times. In spite of my difficult what I went through, it was my lifestyle. And it wasn't because the way I was raised, I'm like, it's the people I hung out with. It's like, and this was you did. I never killed nobody. I don't think I did. But my sister approached me about 7 years ago. She said, "Barry, why did you kill those 12 people?" And I looked at her. I didn't. It's like, do I remember? I don't remember anything. I mean, it's like it's just crazy sometimes. And I went to therapy kind of behind it. It's like evocative therapy to find out what went wrong back then. What was I going because I lived that type of life and stuff like that. But the bottom line is like, I don't reveal my story to anybody. It's the first time I revealed this part of me. I don't tell my story because I won't be a like person sometimes. I go to a clubhouse, but nobody knows nothing there. Oh, Bear, he works with people. But that's not my story. He has two daughters. That story is like coming to the realization that I'm a decent person. I am a good person in spite of my shortcomings and stuff like that. And somebody mentioned about problems one day. They said, we all got problems. I look at me, I don't have no problem. And they look at me, you do have problems. What about? I said, I raised two daughters. I have a third daughter that kind of in her life. I work, I have my own business. I do good. So it's like, what problems do I have? I went through all my problems to alleviate all this crap in my life, put it that way. And I said today, and I said, I have no problem. I have a good, wonderful life. And I wanted to share with the world what I have done to help people get from point A. And it's like you're a coach yourself. You know what it means that to help other people to get from point A to point B. Because we as a people as a whole, we stand for something. And I think everybody in this Zoom has something to offer to people because we do have a story to tell. And that's our journey to let people know you can survive and you will survive. It's doable. And what you're on a journey yourself. I seen it in your eyes when you were talking. You're on a great journey. You really are. And it's like, you're going to do great. I'm going to start crying into something, but you're going to do good. You're going to do great, though. And I can see it. And I'm very good with people. I can read people. It's like, and you're amazing. You really are. And you have a story to tell. So continue that journey. And everyone else continue that journey because we have a story to tell. That's it, Chaplain James.
I appreciate that, Barry. As you were talking there, one of the things that I realized when I had a daughter, was the fear that came along with that.
Yeah.
And having a child in general, I would notice myself just like losing it.
Yeah.
And then I had to, because it's like, why are you doing what you doing? Why are you acting like that, you know? And I had to realize like they have these like underground like, and pardon me because I tend to go into like the creepy world, so forgive me. But they have these like underground rats that don't have any eyes, right?
Okay.
And they just move on feeling and vibration, right? Sorry for being gross with it. Um and I had to realize like there's a part of us that is that. There's a part of us that doesn't see. It only feels, it only understands, and it's terrified. Especially when you like having a child like kicks that terrified into another layer, and then you start attacking anything that can cause pain, that can cause harm. Sometimes that ends up being your kid because they can harm themselves. You know what I mean? And then having to like dial that back and like find that spot where it's just like, and it's so difficult when you come from a place where you can't surrender, where
Yeah.
you
That's a good
can't,
point.
and having to like put that surrender into it, like, dude, there is nothing, there's there's so little I can do to prevent this other being from destroying themselves. Like, and even if they're not going to, there's the fear of them going to destroy themselves, you know? Um, and what I had confirmed for me by taking this new anger management class is
Okay.
that rage and anger is really just fear.
I
We
agree.
we look at it as aggressive, but aggressive is a person that is purposely causing harm. That's a completely separate issue than somebody having a split response from a fear. So, like, I've had to work on elongating the period of time from stimulus to response. So here goes this thing. It touched my brain in a way that makes me feel threatened, and having to like realize that like there's not a tiger, there's not a fire breathing dragon. If there is one, it's on my side, right? um to like elongate the response, because if we just give ourselves just like 5 seconds, we can sometimes like not go off. So but yeah, and it's hard because a lot of people, especially people that are caught in their own stuff, and haven't done any work themselves, it can be hard for them to be able to be like, yeah, Tiff, come back to Thanksgiving dinner. It's like,
Mhm.
nah, bro, we want to avoid that, because even if one person is okay, the rest might not be okay. And it's like, I misbehaved. I stole the car, cost people money. Did all of these things. And oftentimes I again avoid situations because it's like, nah, dude, you're not about to take that one thing I did and pour all of your pain and rage and anger into that. Like, no way. And sometimes people do that. So yeah, but I hear what you said, like being left alone and in this fretful world where all sorts of stuff happens. Yeah, that's enraging, and that's real. And having to deal with like this group is like, there's hope. There's 7 billion people on the planet. I'm not about to like rest my whole life on this group of 20, you
Okay.
know? Like, I look at finding this group. Look at this. Here goes a community. Like, some of us are fixed people that stay in one spot, and some of us are nomadic people. And yeah, so, but I just want to respond to that. Thank you.
And another thing is like over the years, when I went to anger man, I taught myself something. I give myself from 0 to 15 minutes to solve a problem or do anything. Over if it goes to 60 minutes, I got a problem. And I let everything stays under 15 minutes. I've been doing this for like 20 years. If 60 minutes, I got a problem. And it never
Yeah,
goes over 15 minutes. And I look at
yeah.
my daughter and said, Bear, you got control issues. You're not your daughter's higher power. I said, I'm their higher power. I'm their God until they finally got up there. I'm not to be arrogant. And I did that. They didn't have a God. So I'll be the God till they found one. And they found a God of their understanding, stuff like that. And they're good now. And it's like, and people say, you raised them well. You did a good thing. It's not that I did a good thing. I did what I'm supposed to do. It's not a question of being good. You're black people. It's not a question of black people. Why? Sometimes you do what you got to do, in spite of. Because I got my daughter, I think I had like 5 off of drug and alcohol after using for 30 years. I come down and wouldn't pick them up and say, let's do this. They said, you left me once, you're not leaving me again. Where you go? I go. I went to my daughter put in the hospital for 9 weeks. I came out, said, I'm going to the shelter, said, then let's go together. And we've been together ever since. They moved out like 7 years ago.
Hmm.
And it's about the journey. It's like,
Yeah,
and it was kind of fun. Crazy as hell, but it was fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You really find God in those moments.
You really
You
do.
really,
You
yeah,
separate the men from
yeah,
the boy and the women from the girls.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
It's all worth it.
Mm.
But like you said, this is a community. When we come together every Saturday, 11:30. It's good, Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, Chaplain James, you see not to mention, why did they call your name? It's like, why did my heart climb the mountain? Because it was there. There's no rhyme or reason. It really isn't sometimes. Just say things.
Yeah.
You see
Okay.
all this in hindsight, like you can say, oh yeah, like I found this higher power once upon a time. I didn't know about it at the time, and how I was being guided. But looking back, I could say, oh yeah, that was my higher power showed up here and here and here, and gave me that direction somehow. And
Yeah.
that's something that I think, Tiffany, you've also, although you really never talked about it, but you found some direction external to you. You found some kind of power that provides you with some sort of guidance in this journey. And it does become an adventure, doesn't it? Every day,
Yeah.
if you let it.
It's a venture, yeah. And every day I see my
Adventure.
daughters at
Adventures. I like adventure.
Yes, it goes adventure.
Because like right now I'm at this point in on my journey where I'm like, ah, like the parts of me that like to be settled are being rattled again. Like I like to know like this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen. It's like, dude, no, just come on. And letting go of the emotion of it. Um because what I did find when we talk about adventure is for me, I had to see God as more of I was trying to be God with my compartmentalizing,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
you know, where it's like, no, that's the compartmentalized and the step by step, that's not my job because I don't know. I remember there was a point in my life where I was very vengeful, right? And I wanted to get that person back. And there was a situation that happened to me, and I was able to encounter the person later in life, right? I remember I was a chunky kid and I was at the swimming pool in the suburbs. They would bring the inner city kids to the suburbs to swim. And this girl made fun of me, and she had the other girls making fun of me. She was from the suburbs, and I was from where I was from. So I jumped off the bleachers. I jumped on the girl, started whooping her butt, banging her head into the cement. And she was looking me dead in my eyes, laughing, right? And so then when I look at this person who did this thing to me in my teenage years, and then I saw him in my adult life, and I tie that story into it, I don't know what it takes to get somebody back, because where I come from, banging her head into the cement should have got her to where I needed her to be, right? But then when I saw what happened to this guy over here, I get such a deep sense of satisfaction because I know that he now knows the fear that he caused. He lives with that every day, right? So me trying to compartmentalize things and trying to put things into a way that I can control it, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's ahead. So all I can do is just like move with it. And I hope to get better, and I hope to learn to navigate more in a way that um I would say gets me the biggest bag of money. 'Cause that
Okay.
seems to be what the chase is, right? But no, just the safest. And it's like, gosh, but we have these internal sensors. So getting those internal sensors online and being able to handle the adventure, being able to accept that it's not always going to look the way it's always going to be all good. Like that's what I've seen historically, you know, that could change,
And
you
like you said,
know.
some things are not good sometimes. I have a person, they call me. It's like, I would sit on the phone with them like an hour and 15 minutes. Guess what? They don't talk. They
Mm.
just say, are you there? I'm there. And I'm going to put it on speaker, writing something. because I lost 2 people years ago because I kind of turned my back on them. One guy walked, he was laying in the alley. The other guy ran into a bike and blew himself with a teenager. And I made a vow to myself, never turn my back on anybody. And I will be there for that person. If she don't want to talk, she don't have to talk. I'm not going nowhere. And I would just let her breathe through the phone. And when she's all right, I say, are you all right? And then I will go there. And I said, you can call me for 3 o'clock in the morning. I will be there. I'm coming. If you need me, I will be there. Kind of crazy as hell. I have been called out at 3 o'clock in the morning. Some people make it a habit of it, but I know what it's like when you mention not to have nobody there for you. It's the most overwhelming feeling in the world. If nobody's not there for you. It really is.
Or the
And
price
I'm
is
not
too
trying to,
high.
yeah, and I'm not trying to save the world. I'm just make myself available.
Yeah.
Because I say you
Yeah.
got to meet people where they at sometimes. Sometimes it means going to some of the strangest places.
Yeah. 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 Yep. And I think that accepting people's humanity, and
Yeah.
like I said, when we go back to the amends, like people that come into our lives, like not expecting them to be everybody your parents weren't, or
Hmm.
everybody just like this is a person who was a harmless person, and this is what they can offer to the
Right.
situation,
Okay.
because sometimes like what I found is having those relationships that we're supposed to have, again, like sometimes the price is just way too high, like emotionally, psychologically, sometimes financially, so yeah, I'm
That's
moving through
interesting. You
that.
put that the relationship that we should have, but the price is too high sometimes.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep, actually. Wow, never looked at it that way. It's
Yeah.
sometimes you can't pay it.
Yeah.
You
Or it
really
takes
can't
too
pay it.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes too much.
Depleting.
Yeah.
you
Mm.
know yeah.
If I might just step in as a co-facilitator for a moment. Tiffany,
Okay.
that was really just very personal. Really good to hear your story and your experience. And Dan, we talked about the kind of speakers that we would like to have, and I think Tiffany and her presentation exemplifies what I thought I would like to see. Uh, because it's just about your experience of spirituality and being in the world. And um, I'm fascinated by the many different ways that each of us has this experience. So thank you so much. It's a real pleasure getting to know you in this venue. But Sandy's joined us, and Sandy, you've missed a lot of what went on because you joined late. But not to worry because we're so glad that you're here. But you got a new haircut, and would you like to just kind of check in and tell us how you're doing? What's up? You're muted, Sandy.
And
I came late, so I didn't hear most of the stuff.
How are you doing? What's going on with you?
Yes, so I'd rather not speak.
I'm glad you can be here with us. Thank you.
I'm in a nursing home in rehab, and this place sucks.
okay.
All right, let me not speak.
Tiffany, when you mentioned going back what you said, the price is too high to pay. I need to really look at that. What length do you go to and you just back off of it and say, this is not working?
Yeah.
And it can be too emotional pain to a certain degree. It's like, mm, I guess that's when your higher power meditation comes in. Someone's got to really meditate and think about, and talk to people about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think approach things with humility and with the idea that I don't know everything, but I'm
Mhm.
going to figure it out as I go.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Figure it out as you go. And
Mm-hmm.
So
once again,
we have 5 minutes left. So what I like to do is just a quick check-in with everybody here and just ask a simple question. What should that simple question be, Stan, the picture man?
How are you feeling right now?
Oh, that's very original, Stan. Who should start, Stan?
Chaplain James.
I am feeling very inspired because Tiffany's story has made me believe that there is hope, and you can get there. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of work, but it can be done. And how it usually happens is when you have to stay with yourself and you limited by your actions and what you can do and stuff like that. So you just have to deal with your mind, and you work it out in there. So much can be, all the jewels can be uncovered that way.
Mhm. Very nice. How about you, Karen? How are you feeling right at this moment?
I'm feeling very grateful. I appreciate Tiffany and everything that she shared. I can relate to a lot. And yeah, I'm just feeling really grateful. Thank you so much, Tiffany, and everyone. I really thank you.
How about you, Helen Newman? You're at the tail end of things, but how are you feeling right now at this moment? We're just curious about you. Let me ask you to unmute yourself. All right, well, she's here with us in name only. Barry, how are you feeling right at this moment?
I feel good because I don't compare stories, I identify. And it's like this is really listening to it was really interesting. It was good. It's like it lets me know I see some bodies that we have and other people on the Zoom. We have things in common. We just want the betterment of people. That's what we want. And so that's how come we all chose the profession, I guess, in a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
All right, that's good. All right. So, Tiffany, why don't you close out this group? We have 2 minutes. Give us some 2 minutes of wisdom. Final thoughts.
That's 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 not a lot of pressure. Let's see. Let's see. See if I have something written. I had my whole thing written out, and I planned on coming so prepared. Just FYI, I was not. This was extemporaneous. So what I'll say is that we just run at it. That's all I can say. Always try to be better and define, and not better, just better than you were yesterday. And it's like really, really a cliche thing to say because I want to be original.
Mhm.
But that's there's no need in certain things. Just working, just keep up. Everybody keep it up and know what's yours to carry and what isn't yours to carry, and take the time to um sift through that. No, and as long as you're keeping on doing it, that's fine. and accept that you might not complete it.